What's going on, YouTube? It's Donnie B all day, coming with the a versus video, versus the hazy background apparently. All right, so it's clearing up, going back to fuzz, clearing up, going back to fuzz. So we're gonna do a versus today, and before I get started on the versus, this is kind of a shout out, more of a shout out. This is a you got to check this thing out type thing. I am a New Englander, right? Born and raised in Massachusetts. Don't plan on staying here, but born and raised in Massachusetts. This is where I spent most of my life. On the playgrounds where I spent most of my days. So we are the home of basketball and cranberry juice, like ocean spray, and a whole bunch of other stuff that shot heard around the world. But we're also home to something that trumps everything, bigger than basketball. We're the home of Jaws. That's right. We're the home of Jaws, the shark that just did it all, changed movie history. And we're at the 45th year anniversary of Jaws, of the movie Jaws. It was filmed right here in Massachusetts, on Martha's Vineyard. And awesome. But the reason I'm bringing that up, and it has nothing to do with the verses that we're about to get into, what I need you guys to do, if you like Jaws, if you're a fan of Jaws, if you know Jaws, look up my man Tubes 5150. Just type in the words, go on your thing. Let me pull it up here. Boo-doo-doo. I had it saved up there, and then okay, type in on your YouTube search bar Jaws 45 years of Jaws dash happy anniversary tribute. So not only does my man Tubes put together a tribute to Jaws, but he acts out an awesome scene. But he doesn't just like act out the part. He's got the mutton chops on and the whole get up, and I'm actually going to show you. Hold on a second. All right, so this is what we're looking at right here. See, that's going to be what you see. Right there, you see the little dude with the mutton chops. Here you go, 45 Jaws, 45 years of Jaws, happy anniversary tribute. So I got, guys, you got to watch this. I want to press pause right away because I left it in a spot. I guess I didn't. But look at him with the mutton chops, and he acts out the entire thing.
Too many captains on this island.
Too many captains on this island, and he does a phenomenal job. It's like, how are you not from Massachusetts? You know, Pennsylvania boy, right there. And he's jawsing it up. So I'm gonna get into this knife off right here, but I just wanted to show you guys that because I watched it and I was like, oh hell yeah, that's what it's all about, paying tribute to Jaws. All right, let's get back on track here. I don't care who you are. That's cool, man. That's cool. I like that. So so let's go. We're doing a we're going to do a versus of field knives. What's the better field knife? The tried and true K-bar, better known as the USMC, but it's the K-bar utility knife, full size is what it's called. Mine obviously is US Army because I'm Army. And we're talking about the Glock Field Knife model, I believe this is the 78. So the Glock has a ambidextrous polymer, you can run this over to your car, it's not going to break, polymer sheath with polymer handle. You got a really strong spring blade steel. You are looking at an overall length of 11.5 inches with a blade length of 6.5 inches. This thing is the only knife I've ever used to chop through cinder block, and it works. I've used this diamond mining and digging through stone. It works. That's not torture testing it. That's using it, what this knife can actually do. You can see the wear. You can see the wear on this blade. It gets used an awful lot. And it throws really well too. But this is really cool. This unclasps so you can go on and off the belt without having to take off the belt. And it's ambidextrous, as in you can fit it either way. I like that. Being a lefty, that's the way I do it. But look at this. It's bam. You hear that snap? That means you are locked in. You are locked in. And all you do is lift up your thumb and it comes right out. This thing is awesome. Strong as all get up. So next we're talking about the K-bar. The K-bar uses 1095 Crovan. We have a leather sheath that I got some kind of glue or something on. Let's just wipe that off real quick. I don't know what I got on my sheath, but it's got a leather sheath. And while I'm a big fan of leather, one of the knocks is that the top and bottom strand, usually the top especially, it is kind of thin, and eventually it'll wear out where the blade tip goes, and you can end up puncturing through. So that's the only real knock I have on these sheaths. But oh man, it smells good. They use really good leather. It's quality, and I do love that. That's really cool. So the knife itself, the handle on this one is a stacked leather wrap. You can see that it is pinned. Here's the pin right there. There's where it comes through at the end. I think on the Glock, you can also see it right there is where where the pin is. So they're both hidden full tang. Really, really well. They both have hand guards. And this one has a partial serrade. It does have fullers. And I have not gone through cinder block with this. Obviously, you can see I do use it. It's got the scratches on there and whatnot. But this holds up really well. It hasn't gone through as heavy of a use as that, but this does get used. Let's go. The overall length is 11 7/8, and the blade is 7 inches. So let's do a side by side here. You can definitely see the size difference within the K-bar. It's thicker and longer, just a bigger knife. As far as thickness though, the Glock is slightly it looks, I didn't measure it, but it looks slightly thicker than the K-bar. So you're getting a sturdy, a very, very sturdy hunk of steel with this guy, even though it's smaller. So what I'm going to do is, well, let's first go over, we'll go over grip, stuff like that. They're both round grips. I have a problem with round grips because round grips kind of suck. They shift in your hand. But what I want to do is I want to put a full grip, a tight grip on the Glock, and I'm going to try and turn it. Yeah. And the knife is not turning, right? It is like, it's got some kind of like texturing on there. You can probably see that. But it really, being that polymer, it really holds pretty well against, like, even if I pinch it and I turn it, you can just see how it's like turning, but it's kind of tough to turn. Where this one is leather, and if I turn it, you can hear that, right? Hear the grip? I turn that and it's going to turn no matter what. If I try to do a pinch test, it's kind of easy to turn in my hand. The grip on the Glock, while this one is so much prettier, the grip is way better on the Glock. K-Bar has a lot of grip issues with their knives. This one, I mean, it's just a classic style, but the grips on these, especially these K-Bars, are not very good. The round grip, I'm just not very good on the round grips. So let's go over how it feels in hand, where the weight is. Let's test the weight first of all. So let's find our balancing point. It's going to be right there on the handguard, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. So right there, just beyond the handguard, where the handguard meets the handle, that's where your balance point on that is. And let's see if we can get this thing, a slick grip. Come on, Slick Willie. Well, I'm trying, guys. It's a problem when you do it properly. You want to put it on something thin, because putting it on a finger, you have too much area. So that man, right about there is your balancing point. So you can see that the balancing point is way here, which means all the weight on this guy is to the rear. And when it comes to making a fighting knife, you don't want all the weight to the rear. That's great for a punching knife. You know, it's why brass knuckles are the way they are. But as a fighting knife, you want to be able to get that blade around. It's all about getting the edge and heading with power. And when you have all the weight to the rear, you can't hit with power. So this one, because it's more evenly distributed, you can get a good, wow, I could hear that. You can get a pretty good swing on this, even though you have a lighter blade itself. So as far as the feel, the overall grip, this one has a better overall grip. This one has a thicker grip. So I like the feel of this one. I like the grip of this one. If that makes any sense to you guys, please mail into your congressman. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough with that battle because, you know, one is a better grip and one is a nicer grip, you know. The hand guards, they both do the job. The main thing you want a hand guard for is the edge side. That's going to keep you from slipping and cutting off pinkies, stabbing and cutting off fingers. And it's supposed to be able to stop another blade from getting to you. But when you're talking about knives of this size, that's really not what you're using it for. You're choked up so much. If something comes down, it's going to get you anyway. So as far as handguards on something like these, their main purpose should be to prevent you from slipping. And not only that, but to use them for lashing. So normally you wouldn't need the top handguard on a knife like these. But because they're field knives and utility knives, you have to have the option to lash. And having this helps. So that's where that goes. All in all, they both feel good in the hand. You can really feel the difference in the texturing on this one. But having large hands, this one's going to feel better in the hand. If you have medium or regular size hands, this right here, sorry, I didn't mean to flip you all off. This one right here is going to feel really, really good. But let's do this. Let's play some pieces of these knives, getting in some work, and we'll go over that. All right, so obviously one of my earlier videos, it goes straight up and down. And what I was doing is chopping with the Glock. Had the old pallets out there, and you can see wood removal happening. You know what I mean? It's definitely getting smaller. The thing being light in the front, just like the K-bar, they're not made to chop, obviously, but they're made to be field knives, and a field knife should be able to chop at least a little bit, and that's what it does. It chops a little bit. So I had this long log, and I had a real skinny stick to baton with. But as you can see, that narrow Glock just cruised right through it. And that was pretty nice. That was pretty nice. You know, it just went right through. It carves pretty well. The whole knife does great. And that's an old blade. And that is a John Havlicek Hondo jersey. That's right. Rest in peace, good brother. So now you can see that this old hurt blade was still able to pull. It's kind of hard to tell on here, but it was able to pull some nice curls. That piece of wood I had was not helping, but it was able to drag and pull. And that was before I even put an edge on it. That thing was beat, and I hadn't even touched it yet. So I took it out to the 1-inch forest, and I had trees that were the same girth as the actual steel. So I decided to start swinging at these guys, you know, once I stopped talking. But you can see that I hit it down, which means I went the long way. You see how long that cut is. The thing is just a beast of a field knife. I mean, it goes through anything and everything. And no matter what I use it for, it just survives. All right, well, obviously we know what that is. That's a throwing target. So now the Glock is one of those knives that I used to throw a lot, and I love it. So throwing this one, I had a feeling, even though I hadn't thrown it in a while, bam, it just so easy of a thrower. So I wanted to do a spine test with this thing, and basically I took the spine and I was just hacking away at this brick, and I mean, zero damage to the actual knife, to the spine, but to be able to hack down rock. So if I needed to make makeshift cutting tools and whatnot, you can use the spine of this knife to shave down some kind of lightweight stones and do that. Or if you're trying to piece together a makeshift shelter and you have some bricks, you need smaller pieces, you can actually knock them down with this guy. All right, onto the K-bar. One thing I can definitely and without a doubt 100% say is that edge for edge out of the box, not too much beats the K-bars. They do some phenomenal edging, and that aluminum can didn't stand a chance against this knife. So here we go. I had some pallet wood, and just like the Glock, it's not made as a chopper, but you can definitely use it. Now you'll notice here what's happening is that round grip is so slick it was turning in my hand, and that was a problem. You can now, as far as a chopper, did I just completely stutter on you guys? So as far as a chopper, it chops, I would say, a little bit better, just because it's got a fatter blade, but it's not an exceptional chopper in any way. But as an emergency field knife chopper, it will get the job done. So here we took some vacuum cleaner hose and just to test it out, and of course the vacuum cleaner hose doesn't stand a chance to that edge. Doing a little bit of carving. This is all edge work, and when you're talking about a K-bar, you're talking about a K-bar edge. We're not talking about K-bar handles, because those are some of the worst in the business. But when you're talking about K-bar steel and K-bar edges, then you're talking about some of the best in the business, and that's where this thing really excels. That's where it shines. So doing a little bit of tight work. Obviously, you're going to feather stick with it. Pretty much, I mean, you could feather stick with a spoon if you find the right angles, but having a nice edge just makes things easier. And you can see just working that edge on light swings, perfect. All right, so just like the Glock, K-bar is a field knife. It's supposed to fly, and fly it does. It's actually it flies really well. It's a very, and that's what it boils down to. It comes down to which is the better field knife, which is going to be better suited for the side, and really it comes down to a couple different things. It comes down to how does it wear. This one wears a little bit better because it's a little bit shorter. This one looks good on the belt because that sweet leather sheath just looks great, but it's performance. Now, as far as blade toughness, you can't really beat the Glock as far as blade toughness. This thing, I mean, we're talking, you're talking, compare. It's not apples to oranges. It's like apples to other apples. The steel on both of these knives is just near indestructible. They're phenomenal steel. If I had to go overall strength, I would have to go with the Glock on overall strength. Overall strength in the handle and the scabbard together, I would go with the Glock. I think the Glock is probably one of the strongest field knives made. As far as a field knife, you're not going to find pretty much anything stronger than the Glock. It is fantastic. Aesthetics. This looks beautiful. You know what I mean? There aren't too many knives better looking than a K-bar field knife, utility knife. They're just really good looking knives. When it comes down to edge, this edge is definitely going to be sharper out of the box, and this edge will hold longer before needing to be honed. This edge is still pretty sharp. Oh, I don't have any hair. Is still pretty sharp. As a matter of fact, it just took a cough, and talk about the cough. It took off a couple hairs there, and I lost them. I haven't sharpened this thing, well, just about ever, really. I mean, and it needs it. It could use to be sharpened. You can see, not even sharpened. It just needs to be honed. Really, the edge is still really good, but this edge, I mean, man, this edge, I don't even have to, like, the hairs just still pop off. And this is a well-used knife. This is a very well-used knife, but K-Bar just does the edges right. Versatility, the only versatile thing I would say this has over this is the fact that being a thinner blade, you can reach into tight spots. You know, if you're trying to dig out food or something out of a little hole, this is more versatile for that. But having the serrations on this, that actually helps when you're talking about versatility. You can use this as a saw. You can use this for better feather sticking. You can use this for things like that, and you can even use it to strike a ferro rod if you need to, even though both spines are about 90 and you can strike with both. You could strike with both ricassos or just the end of the blades. So it's kind of, I would say versatility and edge goes to this. I would say grip and toughness goes to this. And it's hard, you know, if I say, you know, you can only have one. If you can only have one field knife, one above the other, and it's going to be used, tried and true, it's really, really hard not to say this one. Just because of the longevity that you're going to get out of the original edge. It's really, really hard to beat that. The swedge you can strike sparks with. You can strike sparks with this one too. And this one actually has a thicker tip, so you can pry more with this one. And as much as the world tells me, if you could have just one, you take the K-Bar because it's versatile, because it's crazy sharp, you take the K-Bar. But when it comes down to, if this is in the field, everyday usage, sharpen it with, you know, a stone in the river type thing, just overall strength, toughness, and grit, I think I would go with the Glock Field Knife. The Glock Model 78. Now they sell an 81 model, and it's got a serrated top, a saw top. So if I really wanted the versatility of that, I can get the saw top, and that would be just fine. It's really, I mean, if I choose this one over this one, that doesn't mean this one's better than this one. That's not even close. It doesn't mean this one's better. It means it's more of a rugged blade, and it's more something that I would be able to use in the field and trust a little bit more in the field for things like smashing open clams and rocks and things like that. Can this do it? 100% without a doubt. Yeah. The only thing is, if your hands get wet, this sticks a little better. If your hands get wet on this, it doesn't. And for me, even though this is a bigger grip and more comfortable grip, this is a tighter grip. So for me, it comes down to, if I'm using this thing every day, I don't need Slick Willie in my hand. I want a grip that's going to, you know, be there. It's going to always be in my hand. It's going to be in the position I want. It's not going to shift. When I chop with this thing, you know, I give it the okay, and I went way down on this, but again, it just shifts too much. And that's what it comes down to. So this is it for me. If I could have only one field knife, you know, if I just had one knife that I didn't plan on using every single day, just one belt knife. If you said, okay, you can only have one belt knife, EDC, you know, out in the city, if you're living in the city and this and that, this would be the one, without a doubt, 100%. Okay, well, give me my K-Bar. But if it comes down to, you're going out into the jungle, or you're going out into the desert, or you're going out into wherever, then you could have only one and use it that way, and not like an EDC carry where I'm tearing open packages or cutting zip ties and things like that. I'm talking like hard use. I would go with this guy right here. I would. And being the fact that I think it's a little bit lighter, it would, when it comes time to lashing to make spears with, I think this would actually work better there. So no knock at all on this. I mean, no knock at all on this. But if I could have only one field knife, it would be the Glock. The Glock Model 78. I would take this even over the serrated version because I don't really need it. You're always going to have other tools. However, if I only had one tool, maybe I would take the 81. But that's it, man. That's it. So don't forget to check out the Jaws stuff because it's awesome. And look one of these guys up. If you've never seen a Glock Field Knife, a Glock Model 78, definitely look one up. It'll pique your interest, especially since you can find them around like 35 bucks, 30 bucks, somewhere in there. A lot cheaper than that guy. And it is tough as freaking nails. I'm Donnie B all day. Until next time.